Hello, I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. Across our great nation, individuals are searching for new ways to hold primary elections so democracy can actually be served. The League of Women Voters of Maryland agrees that ideas should be studied from other parts of the country for potential use in our state. Elaine Apter, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Maryland, is here to report. You know, it's not every day that you celebrate your 60th birthday. Mine's just a few years away. But this year, Every Mind, formerly called the Mental Health Association of Montgomery County, gets to have its 60th party. Kathy McCallum, president of the board of directors of this great organization, will look backward at Every Mind's accomplishments over these 60 years and also will give us a little bit of a peek towards what we can expect in the future. The end of the federal fiscal year, like every year, comes up on September 30th, just a couple days away at least at the time of this taping. It's now up to the U.S. Congress to continue funding for deserving programs around the country, indeed some in this county, which feature maybe at the heart CCI Health and Wellness services that provide support to those who most are in need in this county. Dr. Sonya Bruton, Chief Operating Officer CCI, is here to explain the dire circumstances that are going to come up on September 30th. National Endowment for the Arts has awarded a big read grant to Montgomery Community Media to encourage everyone in our fair county, in our community, to read the same book and discuss what it means. Tony Spearman-Leach, Director of Communications and Development at MCM, is here to fill us in, including unveiling the book that all of us should be reading as a part of the big read. Elaine Apter.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And when I think of the League of Women Voters, I think of one word in particular, democracy.
Right.
With a small d, in that what you're about is making sure that everyone in this country has the opportunity to exercise their right to vote.
That's right, and that's why the League of Women Voters of Maryland has taken on this study on primary elections, because times have changed, and so many of the new registrants, voter registrations, are for unaffiliated voters in Montgomery County and across the state.
Wait, let's stop right there. You mentioned unaffiliated. I know that we have, you register basically as a Democrat or Republican, maybe some
Green.
third parties, Greens, all that stuff, but unaffiliated, what is that?
That means they do not want to be affiliated with any party.
Okay.
And as much as we speak to these people at registration and say Maryland has a closed primary system and you will not be able to vote for the major candidates in a primary election, they don't care. They do not want to be associated with a party. And so, like when the last presidential primary came up, these people came to the polls and they were frustrated, they were angry. They got a ballot that said you could vote for the Board of Education because that is nonpartisan. But there are alternatives to Maryland's closed
let's talk
primary.
about it. Before we get to the alternatives, isn't every state just like ours?
No. There are all different kinds of primaries across the country. One of them is you can be registered Democrat or Republican, go in and get your ballot. Unaffiliated can go to the polls and say, I want a Democratic ballot or I want a Republican ballot on the day of the primary election. And then there's the other, which is wide open. You don't register for a party at all. You go in the day of the primary and you say, I want a Republican ballot, I want a Democratic ballot.
I want to interrupt there because I find what you're doing is fascinating. I'm originally from the Midwest, and what we did is we had only on special occasions closed primaries. And what was awesome about it is that means generally our elections are open. And we designated on the day of, which we wanted. I think that so many millennials today feel alienated. I don't know what the League of Women Voters is doing to try to get more young people engaged.
Before we get to engagement, let's talk about that issue. Is that one of the types of models that you're looking at?
Yes, and that's one of the models. But those are Republican and Democrat. You're looking for the representative of the party, but there's something else coming down the pike. California and Washington have this. It's come up at several state legislatures, and that is that everybody is on one ballot.
And you do a runoff.
And you do a top two,
Okay.
basically. They can designate Republican or Democrat, but they will not be a representative of that party.
Will that ever happen in Maryland where Democrats dominate and, you know, you have a situation where you don't know what's going to turn out on the
Well,
top two?
and what's interesting is the Republicans in 2000 opened their primary to unaffiliated voters.
Okay.
But they never did it again.
Wow.
And Democrats have never done it.
But I think, but
So-
Tony brings up an interesting point. We only have just about a minute, so it's terrible. I know other questions. Is an obstacle the party in charge often in these other states, or what was it that helped open things up?
I think probably going to the legislature, people that have had their voting rights denied because they're unaffiliated, and that snowball saying we want something different. I think that's probably the best way that something like that is going to happen.
Okay. What, I don't want to, anybody have?
Yeah, I do want to, to me, whatever happened to the concept, and I know the league supports this, of one choice, one vote. Why can't I walk in on the day of the election and just say, today I support this candidate?
Well, that's what they're talking about, right?
Because the
You know.
state constitution says you can't. And so if we want to do something and change it, we need to have a constitutional amendment.
Which would mean also we'd have to, that we'd be voting on that, right? Would that be on the ballot as well?
Right, and that's a state, it's by state.
Right.
So, yes, so that's something that that's why the league is studying it right now. We don't have a position. Hopefully we will come out with some kind of a position, and then we can start the ball rolling.
Elaine, promise you'll come back and
Oh, yeah, and
keep us
it's a
informed.
wonderful topic that nobody's talking about.
Except for Elaine Apter
But
and Montgomery
Elaine and the
Community
league.
Media,
That's
right here at
right.
Montgomery Weekend Review. Thanks, Elaine.
Okay.
Kathy,
Hi.
happy birthday
Thank you.
to
I'm not
to
60
every mind.
yet.
No, you're far from it. Far from it. So let's talk a little bit about what 60 years means. I know you're having a big celebration. We don't have time to really talk about it. It's going to be a great celebration, as it should be.
Yes.
In Bethesda in October. But what's 60 years of first the Mental Health Association, now Every Mind? What's that meant to Montgomery County?
Well, it's meant that you have an organization that has been around for 60 years and has forged these great partnerships not only with the government but with other nonprofits, with the county schools. And we've been a part of that safety net for so many people throughout the county and now throughout the metropolitan Washington area.
You know, think back 60 years. It's 1957. Well, you know, you weren't around in 1957, but take us back. What was going on at the time that the organization was founded?
Well, one thing that was going on then that's still going on today is that Mental Health Association and now Every Mind runs the hotline for Montgomery County. And in addition to taking local calls for people that need supportive listening or resources, we also are part of the National Suicide Hotline. So we do take calls from other places in the United States as well as locally from that national hotline. And we've just
Saving
been
lives.
Saving lives.
Saving
lives and providing resources and education and services to just make people's lives better.
I would assume you've seen an increase because people are now willing to come out and say they have a problem.
We have seen an increase. Unfortunately, there still is stigma around mental health issues. What we've done at the hotline is to try to provide broader services to appeal to people in this technological state that we're in. So we have a chat line, which is online. We have a text line. But, you know, there is sadly still a stigma, and we're working every day to break that down.
I'm wondering how the name has helped with that, the name change. As you've progressed, you've changed that.
Well, you know, the name Mental Health Association was somewhat institutional sounding, and Every Mind really just embraces our very broad view of mental wellness and mental health. You know, you think about I always like to say that there's a continuum of mental health. And my continuum looks different from yours and looks different from the continuum of someone
But
who's
it's-
been diagnosed with a severe mental illness.
But all of ours are going to be, if we look at a sine curve, we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs.
Exactly.
No matter, that's part of being human.
Correct. And
Go ahead.
I'm
How
sorry,
do-
you go.
How do you get your name out? Because I've never had to deal with it, say, but all of a sudden I have a problem with a child or myself. How do I know that you're
Well,
out there?
through many different places. Like I said, we have great partnerships with other organizations in the county and with the county government. We do advertise by putting information out there in the places where people are going to see it for veterans, at places that they would visit, in the schools, and so forth.
Let me ask you, Montgomery County is known as one of the most diverse counties in the United States. Do you have service, and stigma is heavy in
Yes,
different cultures.
absolutely.
Do we have multi-language offerings
We
for our
absolutely
services?
do, and a lot of people that we work with, a lot of our clients are, English is not their first language. Many of them are immigrants. You have kids that are in school that are struggling to do well in school, that maybe have a parent who's unemployed, and so we have school-based services that really embrace the whole family and help the family be happier and better and healthier.
Take me ahead. Stigma seems to continue to be an issue, but as we understand more and more of the human body, the genome, and everything else, is so much of mental health is physical.
Yes.
And so do we see stigma going down, reducing to a point where we give true parity between mental
I
and
hope so. I hope so. We have made a lot of strides. You now, like just Monday, I went to the doctor, and one of the things she asked me, and this was for, my physical health. One of the things she asked me was if I had any feelings of depression, and so we are starting to see a lot of that being done, both for adults and for children, which is wonderful. And the more we can just all talk about mental health and how our physical and mental health relate to each other, how outside factors can affect us, the more we have these honest, open conversations and aren't afraid to speak about our own truth and our own experiences, the better chance there is that stigma will one day be something from the past.
I hear hopefulness here, Kathy.
I'm always hopeful.
That's great. Well, my fellow Montgomery County Public School graduates, thank you
Yes.
for being here, and
Thanks
look
for
forward to
having
continue
me.
to have you
And
here in the
October
future.
18th is our big celebration.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back after these public service announcements. And we're back. Sonya Bruton, COO, Chief Operating Officer of CCI Health and Wellness. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Usually with CCI, we're talking about wonderful things. We're talking about expansion of dental services, of mental health. We're talking about reaching in more into Prince George's County. We're talking about the work with food stamps or AFD, all of the different things that you all are doing. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you all and your counterparts around the country. Well, tension by Congress and the president was all about Obamacare and trying to wipe Obama's name, I guess, off of this. Is this helping the neediest in our communities fell through the cracks?
Absolutely. So we're almost a victim of what you just said. When things are going well, when you're doing great things, when you're always giving successes, it's easy to forget about the need that still exists for agencies like ours. And this legislative cycle has had the big issue in healthcare of the Affordable Care Act, that it has left no room for funding decisions for programs like ours that also needed to have been made in this cycle.
Let's talk about your dependency for a good percentage of your monies, the federal government. What is? I mean, give us a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about.
Of what this means. For us, the broad and the big number, what's going to happen come Sunday is that the mandatory or the guarantee of 70% of our funding goes away. For us, that's a little under $3 million. But the reason that that really impacts us system-wide is the way that that money has been promised and given to us, and the way that we have permission to spend it is chunks of $650,000 at our 9 sites.
Okay.
So that means every site loses the base level, that safety net support.
Sure.
None of the federal funding funds fully any of our operations.
Right.
But it assists and supports and allows us to do the things that we do in all of our operations.
And who are the people that you serve, and how many?
We serve all of Montgomery County and the northern portion of Prince George's, 30,000 unique individuals per year for us. And so 30,000 people will be impacted in some way.
And they're with you primarily because of income issues.
The majority are,
Majority
absolutely.
are, not everyone, but the majority. I mean, in addition, you're also administering food and maternal child health care, your dental work. I mean, these are folks who go without if you weren't around.
Absolutely, and they're also people for whom we can meet so much of their full needs. So as you stated, we do primary care, they're major physical health, but we also do behavioral health. We also do dental services. We have specialty services that come in. We offer on-site with us neurology. We do infectious disease. We cover the HIV, and we also run the refugee health program for this area of Maryland. And so all of that becomes at risk.
Before you come in, we have to remember that individuals whose health needs are not addressed then become threats to the rest of the community. I mean, it's not like they get sick.
Right.
They're sick, we're all sick. So I just wanted to
My major question is, what can we do as the residents of Montgomery County? I mean, we can talk about all the wonderful work you do and all of the good things, but should we be picking up the phone and calling our congressman? Should we be calling our senatorial offices? What can we do to help restore your funding?
Thank you so much, Tony. Yes. For our senators, they're on board. They have signed on to the CHIME Act, CHIME Act. Our representatives, we have not seen Maryland show up yet. What we need is those who understand the benefit that we bring to this county to call their representatives and ask them to sign on to the CHIME Act in support of funding for CCI Health and Wellness and all the other safety net providers in our area and in the country.
I can't imagine our members of Congress who are very, very responsible if this is raised to them, if they wouldn't be elbowing one another to get out of the way for them to put their names on
We
this.
agree. There are competing priorities, we know.
Sure.
We just need ours to come up to the top
so
to
much.
finish it off. Yeah.
You get your funding. Are we making progress in addressing the health needs? What more do we need to do? We've got about 15 seconds left.
Yeah, we absolutely are, and that's why it's such a good investment. One of the ways, we have barometers that tell us how well are we doing. We actually get incentive payments from the federal government when we have the outcomes, when things get better for the people that we serve. We received triple the amount this year. That's how broad and how huge our gains were this past fiscal year.
And without the continued funding, that can fall off, and then you've got to rebuild, and that's
It will. We
momentum's
won't be able
gone.
to maintain the people or the locations.
Sonya, thank you.
Thank
Got a
you.
lot of work to do here.
Thank you.
Let's move ahead. And Tony, as you go and you help rally folks for this important thing, and thank goodness MCM is here, Montgomery Community Media. You're here, and great leadership team. We're here to talk about something that's a little bit of fun, and enriching at the same time. So tell us about this book project.
We are pleased as your community media center to actually be able to say we have won a National Endowment for the Arts Big Read Grant.
Whoa. Tony,
Yes.
with you all here, we've been winning a lot in different fronts. This is just another win that we've had. Let's remember it. I mean, nationally, internationally, MCM has been seen. So I just want to make sure people understand this is not the first thing that you're winning.
No, this is not the first thing that we've won. As you know, recently we won 6 Telly Awards. We just received a series of NATOA Awards, top in the county. But to win this national award, the NEA Big Read, why is this so important? First,
Yeah.
we're the only community media center in the nation to receive this. So this is a major achievement. And we're focusing on something important to our hyper-diverse community. and that is the immigrant story.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're coming together with our partners. We've done something unique. We've combined the Montgomery County Public Libraries,
Mm-hmm.
the City of Gaithersburg, and the Gaithersburg Book Festival,
Okay.
and the Friends of the Library,
Mhm.
and us.
Okay.
We picked this book that was the award-winning book,
Okay.
which The Beautiful Things That Heaven Bears.
Okay.
And why did we pick this book?
I don't know. Why did you pick this book, Tony?
This is important. I want all of you to know. This book is an Ethiopian immigrant story, but based out of Silver Spring. Ah!
Mm-hmm.
And so what we are really emphasizing is everyone telling their immigrant story. And given the climate that we are in right now in this
Sure.
country, this is a beautiful story to tell. And so we want all of you to, one, tell your immigrant story. We are taking oral histories as part of the project.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So for the 60th anniversary, bring us your oral history. And we are actually having kids do writing stories.
Perfect.
So
Are
So
you
how-
having discussion groups around?
I'm
that
so glad you
have-
asked that. Yes. If you contact the Montgomery County Public Libraries, they will be having discussion groups. We will be having book writers, authors come in and actually talk about this issue from this book and for other books.
Good.
We're excited.
For the participants, the ones who want to tell their stories, is there an age range that's allowed, or?
I'm really happy you asked that. We are looking for stories from every age, every culture, every background. And it doesn't necessarily have to always be just your story. Maybe you want to come in and tell the story of your grandmother. Maybe you want to come in and tell the story of your uncle or a neighbor.
Sure.
We want to hear the immigrant stories that make our mosaic rich. You know, the term we use is the Montgomery mosaic.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are.
And we really want to celebrate that. So that's why we're so proud. This is a great honor.
And where would these stories that you're collecting, where will they live? How will they be accessed?
The Montgomery County Public Libraries promises that you will be able to access the stories, and you will also be able to go and access the children's stories at the Gaithersburg Book Festival. As you know, Mayor Judd Ashman, Mayor of Gaithersburg, is a big, big fan of writing and literature. So this is getting our young people, as well as our adults, engaged in this.
What's the
area.
time frame?
We're going to start in April, and you will be able to go through till about June
Okay.
on this whole project, and we really want you all to come and get engaged in this
Will
activity.
you be able to get the book electronically also, or?
The Montgomery County Public Library will have the book available for download and for checkout. You can go to the library now and get engaged. This is going to be exciting.
And can you just tell us a little bit about the author?
The author is actually an immigrant it's really, even though it's a fictional story, to Silver Spring. And it's really talking about the things that happen to immigrants when they come to new communities. And I don't know if you are aware of this, Silver Spring has a very rich and vibrant Ethiopian community,
Yes.
As well as Eritrean. I would be remiss not to say that. And so this is really telling that story in part from the author's experiences.
No, I joke with Ethiopians. I work in Silver Spring, and I'd come up and say, you know, I can't tell you how angry I am at the Ethiopian community. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, because the way you raise your kids, it's unfair to the rest of us. These kids are so nice. They work hard in school. They're at the top of their class grade-wise. You're making it terrible. It's awful for us native-born folks because your kids are you know are embodying the American values more than anybody else is. How dare you?
And
And
if
it's
you
great.
haven't tried it, you need a good Ethiopian restaurant.
No, I think I think what the Ethiopian community has done and what every other immigrant community has done in Montgomery County has made our place so much stronger, as Montgomery Community Media. So thank you
Absolutely.
for this great effort you're underway.
Well, thank you.
Folks, our time has come. I want to thank you for joining me here, and I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Moores, inviting you to join us next week at this very same time.